Jehovah Goel. Many years ago, there was a famine in the city of Bethlehem, ironically known as the House of Bread. So a family moved to Moab, and the two sons took Moabite women to be wed. And eventually, the men died, and the two Moabite women were left with their mother-in-law, Naomi. Bethlehem had since recovered from the famine, so they prepared to go back and see. Naomi urged the girls to stay in Moab, but one daughter-in-law, Ruth, was adamant to go with her. Over time, Ruth worked in the field collecting grain and caught the eye of the field owner, Boaz, a fine sir. And they fell in love and eventually became married. Boaz became a kinsman redeemer and paid the price for Ruth. He followed the ways of the law and purchased all the property of Naomi. This is the truth. So with this story, we see a widow, weak and poor, yet her life was redeemed and became a life that was cared for. This story is a picture of the Lord, our Redeemer, Jehovah Goel. Because of our sin, we are helpless, in error, and unwell. Yet the beautiful truth about life is that we no longer have to stay in bondage to our sin. God sent Jesus to pay the price for our wrongdoings, allowing us to win. And because of Christ's work on the cross, we can be in right relationship with God. We have an eternal purpose, and we are blameless. Jesus is the ultimate Redeemer. Our Goel loved us so much to repurchase us in order for us to no longer be shameless. Here's the truth. At the beginning of time, we were created by God in His image as part of His family, and all was well. But sin entered into the world, and humanity was contaminated, separated from God. That is why we need Jehovah Goel. Humanity always belonged to God as His own creation, but sin separated us from God, creating an abomination. So God made a plan to redeem humanity. Even though we rebelled against God, He still wanted us. Yet it may seem like insanity, but that's how much God loves you. He loves you so much that He made it possible to bring you back to Himself and call you His own. As part of His redemptive plan, He claimed back what was His, and we now rule alongside Him on His throne. Redemption is twofold. It means to compensate for our faulty sins and save us from what we did wrong. It also is an action for regaining something back, to restore God's initial design, for to Him we belong. Even though we've rebelled, even though we're self-centered and self-reliant, Jehovah Goel wanted to purchase us back to Himself, though we may be defiant. Though my heart chases after the desires of the world and I prostitute my heart, Jehovah Goel calls me tenderly to Himself, rights my wrongs, so that to Him I never depart. Sometimes there's nothing more beautiful than a story of redemption. When something is broken and properly restored and put back in place, for this is God's intention. Jehovah Goel is our Redeemer. He restores. He brought us back, cleared our wrongdoings. For our sin, He bore. We are repurchased, washed clean, a new creation, and belong to Jehovah Goel, the Lord who redeems. And He works to rebind our brokenness and will forever reclaim us as His own. This is part of His scheme.